All right, party people, welcome to yet another live stream. Thank you so much for joining me. It really means the world. I'm going to start off with by far the greatest submission I've gotten all week, just so we can get that out of the way, just so we know where we stand and that no other submission could possibly, in fact, surpass this. So I just want to lower everybody's expectations accordingly. Whatever you make for the rest of your producing career will come nowhere near what we're about to hear. So just setting the stage there. All right, let's take a listen. This is Vsauce and bass.
Hey, Vsauce! Michael here. Vsauce. Michael. Michael here. Hey! Vsauce. Michael. Vsauce. Michael here.
All right, that was it. Yeah, that's basically the epitome of music. I'm going to give up. Thank you for Kimpy for sending that in. Just letting you know where everybody stands. All right, so now that we've gotten the best song ever created out of the way, let's go ahead and look through some of the other submissions that I've gotten this week. Now, just to be clear, I've been getting most of my submissions, actually checking them through the subreddit r/WeSuckAtProducing and the Discord. I've been combing through both of these, finding some beautiful roastable gems to slander. Now, I still sometimes check the submissions that I get from my email, but for the most part, I'm sticking to these two forums. So if you would like to send in your track for roasting, please go ahead and submit it to either the subreddit or the YSAP Discord just by clicking the links in the video description below. Private SC links are preferred. SoundCloud links are preferred overall. I would rather not have to download something. But yeah, anyway, so let's move on. Next up we have, let's see what we got here. Let's just play some Twainer. This is Twainer with Where To Next. All right, that was Where To Next with Twanner.
Hey, Vsauce.
Oh,
Michael.
Vsauce is back at it again, boys. Oh, shout out to Brandon Fraser. He's a big fan for a while now. Me and Brandon go way back. Met on the set of The Mummy. He had his, Hollywood scandals, and we went on a couple benders, him, me, and Charlie Sheen, but shout out Brandon Fraser. Anyways, back to the track. Where To Next, Twanner. That was excellent work. Super psychedelic, space out 60s bonanza. But here's the situation. Compositionally, I have no qualms. I mean, it's super, super dope. The vibe, the arrangement. It's maybe, I would have liked to maybe hear some sort of more defined melody in maybe the second half of the track, or maybe a vocal that really actually stands out from kind of the wall of noise you have here. But that actually brings me to the main thing that I have, main issue I guess that I have with the track. It's quite lo-fi sounding, especially during this middle part, where it feels like all the tracks are clipping, or maybe you've limited the whole thing. But obviously the some amount of lo-fi-ness is kind of warranted for this type of genre. Now, a couple of people in the comments said they remind me of Tame Impala, and I couldn't agree more. But here's the thing: Tame Impala's production sound is super duper clean, and modern sounding, despite being, a reminiscent of a certain bygone era, where I was having a lot of free love and marijuana. So this brings a discussion to you guys. How lo-fi is too lo-fi? You know what I'm saying? Certain genres obviously warrant it, but in my opinion, I think this track in particular could benefit from a somewhat cleaner mixing standpoint. So making sure that you aren't quite cranking the limiter so hard, making sure that you aren't clipping on any of the tracks, carving out the low end and the mud from every single track other than your kick and bass. I think following those steps would really kind of make this composition pop. But other than that, excellent work. Thank you, Twanner. Where To Next? Well, that's a great question. I think where to, let's see. Let's actually go over to Everything feat. Capo Lee and D Double D. Let's take a listen.
Still tell man we don't play in the field car everything. I got them man blazing the Z man I raising the left car everything. I could have told you before, don't get yourself one in the walk car everything. I just laugh at the game, never sound way marking and pay car everything. You are wrong. Clothes, cars, everything. Flows, bars, everything. North London, I got tunes that I'm but they don't when I say still I don't get. I know that I'm so I don't get. I grip on the mic and I hate got. So you can't get spiral on top where everything get.
Don't know about me, then you must be jump on stage to the energy's mic technique, yeah, everything make an MC have to go home. That's the way the game goes, it's Capo D back to back, that's I told Spyro this one come and can't tell me this one's not mad.
Man, I still tell man we don't play in the field car everything. I got them man blazing the Z man I raise left car everything. I could have told you before, don't get yourself one in the walk car everything. I just laugh at the game, never sound way barking in pay car everything. Man, I'm waving it still, tell man we don't play in the field car everything. I got them man blazing the Z man I raising the left car everything. I could have told you before, don't get yourself one in the walk car everything. I just laugh at the game, never sound way barking in pay car everything.
Oh baby, shit was fire, bro. That was Kayas with AW. That was Everything feat. Capo Lee, D Double D. I think they got the acapella from some sort of grime track, but the backing track was excellent. Love the chorus, love the 808 wubbiness and the glides. Very SoundCloud. Very, very close to my heart. Let's just take another listen real quick. Just talk about a couple things. Excellent intro. Great snaps. Super wide sounding. Excellent piano riff. This intro section's all good, brothers. That kick feels a bit strange. It feels like an acoustic, almost rock kick, and I'm not sure. You know, I think something lighter, a lighter kick is definitely warranted in that intro section, but maybe something a little bit more electronic sounding. Feels kind of strange. Acoustic kit.
I could have told you before, don't get yourself running and walk out everything. I just laugh at the game, never sound way marking and pink out everything. Clothes, cars, everything. Flows, bars, everything. North London, I got tunes that I mark, but they don't when I say still I don't get. I know that I'm so I don't get. I grew up on a mic and I hate got. You ain't got bars, so you can't get. Spiral on top where everything gets.
So I'm really torn about that snare. I love how kind of mid-rangey and blunt it is, but at the same time, I wish there could have been a little bit more high-end. It also feels kind of wide in the mix, and also when you do that reverse snare, the impact is lost just a little bit. So maybe I recommend layering it maybe with a more traditional trap snare to kind of get that high end as well as that mid-range thud. That's really effective here.
Don't know about me, then you must be mad. Jump on stage to the energy's mad. Mic technique, yeah, everything mad. Make an MC have to go home mad. That's the way the game goes, it's mad. Couple deep back to back, that's mad. I told Spyro this one mad. Come and contact
yeah,
with this.
That's just pretty fucking fresh, man. Thank you so much for sending those, Caius AW. Once again, maybe work on the kick in the intro and also making that snare a little bit brighter sounding. All right, next up, let's just keep going with the rap shit. Here we have Retro Genesis by Black Juice. All right, let's take a listen.
Off the gin Campari and soda. Hits the fifth until his gullet hits his quota. Never knows the time to quit guzzling till his liver's on its swan song coda. Sobers blowing chunks over the sofa. When his whole bar's all but almost done up. Simply cops the one up and game it till it's sun up. Yup, stay Master Chief and Ganj and always keeps me owner armor on to stomp the throng of NPCs that are sure to come along. The nerd up for surely hit the bong while slaying slews and swigging on some Nordic brew. Weed like only Dovahkiin would do. A real blizzard wizard makes the girls say wow in a world where he mastered the craft, the war and game renown. The nerd clowns like at a party with princesses and plumbers. Heard you couldn't make the function with the bummer. Stone cold stunner. Best Baraka Stoli, not talk a prestige when duty called and had to be the tail gunner. I'd finish him like Baraka. Run and gun him like Contra Ninja. Up and go straight out in wicked katanas. Bust a pit boy out and put an end to drama. And listen with the virtual assisted targeting system. The gato isn't missing nada.
Grab that pitchfork, cause it's time to burn like a burn. So ill, stupid, sick, I've been chilling with my drum. Bushido blade, chop it up and put it on the plate. Why you talking, you don't even know my name. Call me Frosted Flakes, cause I'm feeling great. Where that milk at, I killed that damn. Too late, I'm dropping hella nade, like Call of Duty 8. They said they want the face, so I made a fade away. I ain't never give a shit about a punk bitch. I'm just chilling with the Knicks, playing Sega Genesis. Get the hella bliss, the bitches be like, who the hell is this? Danny Steve, please believe, coming with the dragon fist. I don't miss, I don't give no shit when I piss. For shooting, I level up ahead on what Hadouken. It's proven, he's losing. Smoking on that hydro, call it Rhino. Cause he's about to rip you a new one. I stay smoking like a broken motor. If you're sober, don't come over. You can't play with us, there's only 4 controllers. Stoner, Rocky, on that munchies, I see. Got the munchies, now my body feeling oddly.
These motherfuckers just won't see me in these streets of rage. They talk that shit, but they never wanna go and say my name. But that's okay, cause I don't wanna see my Johnny Cage. occasion. When I'm whoop that ass, don't be a bitch and hit me with that fade. Now take a hit from the blunt and a sip of that juice and watch me rack up the score like I was still in my youth. I hit the slots in New Vegas and used my profits for lasers and open up on some raiders that loot the bodies for payment. I'm taking over the wasteland, then hop back on Genesis, speed it up like I'm Sonic and spit some shit like I'm venomous. And he told you woman can start heroes, bring it up to 0. While I'm multiplying zeros, I'ma take your life more than twice. Peach me, my girl don't play nice, blow like I run a gun to Mike Tyson. Come on with a punch like in Bison. I'm igniting like a yoga flame, feeling like kicking ass and taking thing. These thumbs of mine need surgery, but we got this blunt, so it's all okay. I don't give a fuck about what you say. I'ma stick to the path of the good way.
Oh baby, that was Retro Genesis by Black Juice. Pretty swaggin' rap track, you know, sounds like a combination of Blue, Tyler the Creator. Captain Murphy was definitely getting a vibe from there, especially with the slow down vocal doubles that you did. I would say overall the vocals quite quiet in the mix. You could definitely turn that up. Love the switch ups, although definitely kind of drags towards that last third of the track. Overall, the energy level seems kind of flat, and you know, I get it. We're all fucking baked playing N64 Super Smash Brothers, so it doesn't really matter what's going on. But I would maybe cut this guy. Is that a different guy, Black Juice? Maybe it's another rapper. I don't know about him. Anyways, rap aside, let's talk about the mix. Now, a lot of people noticed there was a fuck ton of mud in there, and let me explain to you why. So you have a lot of 808s going. So let's just pull up an 808, just a random one. Sounds like this, right? And I think what's happening is that because you have the release time set all the way up on the 808, when one 808 plays, you play another one under it, and it sounds like this. You see how when more than one 808 plays, it sounds like complete garbage? It's more mud than Woodstock, brothers and sisters. So what you got to do is turn down the number of voices to 1, and that will prevent more than one 808 sample to be played at any given time, so that as a result, when I play all these different 808s, they cut each other off, and the mix sounds a million times cleaner. So please, don't let more than one 808 or bass element play at the same time. Sounds like ass. Another way you could do this if you don't like the simpler is, let's say you were in your drum rack and you had one 808 here and another 808 here, and you wanted each of them to cut off. So as usual, both of them played together sounds like complete ass. But if you go on the upper left corner here, hit this button on the upper left corner of the drum rack. It's the middle of the 3, kind of hard to see. If you click on that, you actually open up a couple other buttons that pop up on the bottom left corner. What we want is to hit I/O, and you'll notice that in this kind of bottom left corner here, you can actually set choke points so that certain samples cut each other off. So let's put it on choke point 1 to both of them. And now, let me see if I can actually play this shit. Where do they go? There we go. Now they'll cut each other off because they're both set to the same choke point. Once again, you have many choke points to choose from, 0 to 16. Choke your whole family, I don't care. So then, but what's really important is that you make sure to set them to the same choke point. What's really useful is that I set all my 808s to 1 choke point, and then all my kind of longer form chords or other samples, set them to a completely different choke point. So for example, I could play an 808 and a chord on top of each other at the same time, but I can't, the 808 doesn't cut off the chord because it's set to a completely different choke point. So super useful. Highly recommend you start using choke points. Very useful, especially when you're trying to do some live finger drumming type shit. But I would say for your productions, have your 808, please have your 808 or bass be on a separate track. Put it in a simpler and just set the number of voices to 1. Okay, so check it. All right, thank you Black Juice for sending that in. I think that was an illustrative learning experience for all of us. Let's move on to something a little bit less rappy. Let's play some Fresh Mate. All right, Samba. Okay. Go back to that. Alright, that was Fresh Mate by Zappa. Super great Dr. Derg, Mr. Carmack, Tsuruda, courteous vibes, weird, wonky trap shit. Love this fucking genre. Super well mixed on your part. Everything's in its right place. Kick and snare, super bumping. I think the right amount of limiting as well. Just one very funny thing about this track occurs kind of in this breakdown. Let's just take a listen one more time. Breaking it down, breaking it down, breaking it down. Switch up. And then just the trail, that reverb trail, the delayed trail from the previous part of the track just fades out really, really abruptly and strangely. Let me just play that back one more time. And it's like, oh, okay, on to the next one. So I'd make that fade out maybe a little more gradual, just have a little bit more overlap, no need to rush things. And I really love the element you introduce here. Really adds a nice character. Super dope switch up. Great build up. Love the side chain and the noise. Here we go. So personally, I felt you could totally have continued that that kind of chord sample that you use in the breakdown into this next section. It just feels that this next drop kind of loses a little bit of energy because we've kind of taken away all the stuff that we were building up in this little breakdown here. Other than that, though, I mean, that, you know, you feel free to do whatever the fuck you want. You clearly know what you're doing, Zappa. This is a great track. Just to make that transition just a little less awkward. It's really funny to me. All right, Fresh Main, Bright Zappa. Thank you so much for sending that in. I really appreciate it. Once again, I got that from, I think, the Discord, the roast section of the Discord. So please roast each other. Don't just wait for me to roast your shit because chances are I probably won't get to it. I get so many submissions. So please give each other feedback, learn from each other, talk to each other, make babies with one another. By the way, speaking of making babies, I introduced a new collabs section in the Discord, so feel free to send your short snippets and ideas. Find other producers to collab with, maybe even some vocalists, brothers and sisters, and hopefully we can create some beautiful baby making music. Something that we could not do alone. Of course, we'll never top Vsauce and bass, but what can you do? All right, coming up next, we have, let's see, what else we have? Let's try Ergo Death by Young Smelk. I love that name. Oh shit! That was Young Smilk with Ergo Death. Is it Smilk or is it Young's milk? Like a youthful lactating baby or what? I'm trying to picture what a young Smilk would look like. Or is it Young and then Smilk, which is some sort of other milk-like liquid, but not quite. Anyways, very interesting track. Reminds me a lot of Tipper actually in this section. Super ambitious, a lot of different parts here. Let's just kind of go through and talk about these. So super dope intro. Great sound design. I will say though that the overall mix does feel a little bit flat, that you've limited it a little bit too hard. We'll talk about that some more. Great percussion. Super wide. Love the fills happening. Breakdown, super dope. Okay, once again, it still feels to me that I don't know what it is about these breakdowns these days, but it still feels to me that the delay trail from the fucking fills and stuff and percussion just decays way too quickly. So let's just hear that back. And it just stops completely. I don't know. Maybe it's just a personal thing. Maybe I'm stupid. Really interesting synth sound design. Super wonky sounding. Really weird. Really weird. Okay, that's a little bit weird. Just holding down that chord for no reason and then without indication dropping into the next section. I think you could give the listener a little bit more indication that a big change in the section is happening by maybe, once again, I always recommend this, doing like a white noise or some sort of drum fill, which you are excellent at, but some sort of indication that we're actually switching into the first drop of the track rather than just holding out that one chord. Let's just listen back again. And then, right. Super weird. So maybe make that a little bit smoother, I don't know. Anyways, this drop right here though, fucking great. Really interesting percussion here. Kick does feel a bit thin and a little bit wide. I think you might have cut a little bit too much of the low end out of the kick and possibly made it a bit too stereo. So always recommend you mono the bass underneath, say, 55 hertz. If you're really careful, maybe even 120 hertz, just to make sure that your low end is as bumping as possible. Super great percussion here though. What the fuck? It's like granular. Super dope snare sound. Okay. Here is a little bit confusing. Sorry, I had to just swallow my own spit. I'm feeling phlegmy today. Okay, here the chords with the combination of the bass don't necessarily seem to be lining up all that well. Just a little bit too dissonant in my opinion here. Yeah, it's just not quite clear what's going on harmonically. Breakdown, once again, you're holding out that same chord. At least this time you got a clap, which is nice. Love the rain. Super pretty here. Okay. So that transition, once again, a little bit awkward. Let's hear it back. It's a really pretty section with the rain. Clear build and energy. We're raising the filter cutoff. We're doing some automation here. And then stop. Okay. So the kick there doesn't really work. It feels that the drop is actually going to start at the kick, but then it doesn't. It waits another bar or maybe half a bar before it actually begins. And when the drop does come in, it doesn't come in with a kick. So I feel either have the drop start with that kick or maybe even a little bit earlier, because I think you might be losing a little bit too much energy from where you built up here. Building up, building up, building up, building up, building up, building up, and then kind of losing it by that time. So definitely try to tighten up that transition, and I think it'll be a lot more effective. A little bit too drawn out. Super dope section here. Once again, not quite clear what's going on harmonically. Mix is a little bit flat. Super busy. Breakdown. Once again, so strange that all the reverb tails and delay from the percussion earlier just dies off so quickly. And then stops. It's like, what the fuck? So strange to me. Okay, personally I think you could end the track right there. You don't necessarily need the bass to come back in right there. I tend to like to keep my outros short and sweet because since the apex of the track is already over and I don't really have this much more to say, there's no real reason to drag it out that long. So I would probably cut it around, instead of 3:58, let's just do it like, a little bit earlier, say 3:30, 3:40. But other than that, really interesting track, doing a lot of crazy different shit here. That was Young Smilk with Ergo Death. Very forward-thinking stuff. Awesome. I actually had a really great question by one of the people in the Discord being like, so I said I found some great gems in the roasting section of the Discord, really great stuff to roast on today's show. And one of the dudes was like, yo, maybe you shouldn't look for gems or tracks that are already good. Maybe you should look for tracks that are really obviously bad and just roast the shit out of those. And, I think there is some fun in roasting really obviously bad music. But at the same time, what I'm more interested in is finding tracks that are good, but just short of being great due to a couple fatal flaws that I really like pointing out. Because we could all learn from a track that just has one fatal flaw separating it from greatness rather than a track that is obviously just bad. However, if you guys have any tracks that are bad in a really interesting and unique way, really appreciate those. Love amazingly bad music. Next up, we have Solo... I can't even pronounce that shit. Let's take a listen. This is by Red. Solo Guerra Verde. Pretty sure it's Brazilian. All right, that was Solo Cuero Verte Bailar with that sick fade out. Very rare in modern music to have a fade out like that. Anyways, so super great track, really great drum programming, syncopation. Big fatal flaw. The bass is not in tune with the chords like half the time. Let's just take a listen. Yeah, that chord, that really dissonant. Okay, and that stop, I totally thought my browser crapped out there. Maybe make that stop a little bit less obvious. Maybe just have one element carry over in that stop so that it isn't just blank space there. Totally thought my browser crapped out there. Okay, so that bass note right there is wrong. It's not playing the root note of the chord. Remember, the bass's number one job is to play the root notes of the chords that are happening in the track. If the bass isn't doing his job, the whole band falls apart. The bass is the glue that holds the rhythm, harmonic, and melodic sections together. All right, he really needs to be on his shit. And when he doesn't do his job, the whole band suffers. So please make sure that you're playing the root notes of the chords. Now I understand it might be hard to deduce if this is a piano sample, but still, no excuse. You gotta have the bass play the root notes of the chords. Not 100% of the time, but for a beginner who may not have the most solid understanding of music theory, please, for the love of God, make sure that the bass plays the root notes of the chords, man. I can't stress this enough. So I believe in that chord right there. What was the root note? So I think you're playing what is it? I think you're playing a B there, and I think what the note that needs to be played there is an A flat. I believe that is the root note of the chord there. So please just make sure to make those adjustments. Other than that, super great samples. Okay, here's another thing. It seems like the sample that is just kind of droning out, it's not changing based on the chords there. Once again, creating that dissonance, all right? Really ugly. You really need to fix that to make sure that your track is so close to being amazing. You just fix these couple different issues here, it's going to be such a banger, but you really have to make sure that the bass and all the elements are in key with one another. Otherwise, it sounds amateur. Great drum programming. This drop is fucking sick. Super great. Awesome hi-hats. Okay, once again, that same bass note. Killing me, bro. Oh, boy. Okay. You got the idea, all right? Super great track. Really make sure you got to get those shit in tune, all right? All right, that was Red. Thank you so much for sending. All right, here we have Samsara with DJ Kalish. Let's take a listen.
Don't know my memes, but I know how to shut your shit down.
All right, that was DJ Kalish with Samsara. Super chill, lo-fi, natural sounding, really beautiful samples and textures in this track. A couple fatal flaws. First off, the drums, especially the kick and snare, feel a little bit late. They're not quite on the beat, so I highly recommend you quantize the kick and snare, especially in this section right here. Yeah, that last kick was super late. A little bit of off the griddiness doesn't hurt. It definitely gives your track that live feel, but it's just a bit much here. So try to get it a little bit closer to the grid. A super useful tool if you're working in Ableton is, let's say you had like a couple of shits that are just completely out of place, just completely off the grid. What you could do is hit quantize, but hit quantize settings. And instead of doing the amount at 100%, do it maybe to like 80 or something like that. And then, you know, they'll still be a little bit off, so you'll have some of that human feel, but it'll be more or less on time. So highly recommend you check out that feature. It's super useful. Other than that, you know, kind of sparse here. This section might be dragging on a little bit too much. Really love that. Me and my homie were working on a track where basically most of the intro is just a recording of him eating chips. So, you know, I love chips. Very near and dear to my heart. Love it when two loves in my life, chips and producing, collide. So thank you for that, DJ Kalish. And here in this last section here, unfortunately, I think once again, your bass is a little out of key. It's not playing the root notes. Your track here. Take a listen. That's good. It's a good note. I'm not sure what's going on there. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. Just really double check. I know it's hard because you're working with samples, but please make sure that that bass is playing the root notes. Otherwise, there might also be some sort of low-end muddiness that might be mucking shit up in the mix. But other than that, thank you so much, DJ Kalish with Samsara. All right, I think we have time for one more. Let's just put this one on. I really like this one. This is Hra with what's it called? Funkadevil? Let's take a listen. This is Hra, if it decides to load. Beep beep bop. All right, here we go. Oh. Dude, super dope. Funkadevil. That was Hurrah. Yeah, I honestly have no qualms with that. I think it sets out and does everything it seems to intend to accomplish. Super weird, kind of old school hip hop, Mad Libby type collage sample technique or whatever. Glad that it's only a minute and 16 seconds. I don't think it needs to go on for any longer. But what you do choose to include is very well done. Thank you so much, Funkadevil with Hra. All right, looks like we're pretty much out of time. Thank you so much, you guys, for participating in today's live stream. If your track did not get picked, never fear. You could always submit again to either the Discord or the subreddit. And better yet, try getting feedback from people other than me, and maybe even find some fellow collaborators in the Discord collab section. We're trying to, so one of my homies, this guy right here, Funnelist, he's helping me make the Discord a lot sicker so people will know whether or not you are an Ableton guy, FL guy, Logic guy, Reaper guy, Bitwig guy, Reason guy, Cubase guy, GarageBand guy, so you can find each other more easily, find other collaborators more quickly, get feedback from one another, learn from each other, and also check out that subreddit, bro. r/we suck at producing. Found some really great stuff there for this episode as well. But yeah, submit your shit to there, and hopefully you get picked. Other than that, thank you so much for participating. Love you guys. New video out Thursday as usual. And I will see you next week. Ciao. Bye-bye. Love you. Kiss, kiss.